Hi everybody, I'm just testing this out. I've never done this before. This is probably a bad picture. It's on the laptop. Um, I didn't know if I could go live. I just thought I'd test it. I thought you had to have 1,000 subs, but maybe since they've changed with the copper stuff, maybe this is the future because it's going to be a lot easier to do a live video. Although I think in future I'll probably do it on my phone because this picture is looking a little bit poor, and well, we'll see. I'm going to just show a few bits I've picked up the last few days, and we'll see how we get on. Let's have a look. I've got 45 seconds. I don't know if anyone's even going to see this. I'm not sure if this is even going to work. But let's have a look. I've been listening to a few different things lately. This is a CD by the band Metz. It's a punk CD from 2012. And it's absolutely fantastic. It's kind of repetitive, simple rhythms played very quickly, but not in a kind of heavy and intense and offensive way. Just a very, very good, sort of, I can't say indie, but just a very good, exciting listen. 29 minutes, that's what you want from an album, really, this kind of stuff. 29 minutes and you're in. Absolutely fantastic. Right, okay. You see, I've never done this before, and I'll probably just delete this video instantly because if people don't turn up, and it's the wrong time of day really for people in America, I'm just seeing what happens. I'm not sure if the live chat is actually happening. I have no idea. It would be good if it is. Someone could let me know if it's working. That would be fantastic. Anyway, here's a few things I've been picking up lately on my travels. You know, going about here, there, and everywhere. Let's have a look at this. I know Robert sounds strange. Oh, there he is. Hello. I mean, I'm just testing this. I'm just seeing. I picked up Bartok's Bluebeard's Castle. I do see these around quite often. I haven't actually seen this one before. I mean, Rob would probably tell me a little bit about this. Oh, look, we're in reverse. So maybe that's the laptop thing. As I say, I'll test it on the phone next time and see what happens. Yeah, Rob's always going on about it. I've listened to it before. I haven't listened to this particular version yet. I know the Decca one he showed is probably the one to go for. But yeah, I picked it up the other day. Every time I see them, I pick them up. Yeah, like you do. Yeah, it's nice to see you anyway. Obviously, I can't see you. I'm just testing this out. I hope you're all well. I don't know how you are, of course. This is a fantastic compilation called Paper Boats in Puddles. It's actually from Brighton back in the early 80s, I believe, 82, something like that. You'll have to tell me if you can't hear me as well. I don't talk very loudly, and etc., etc. It comes with a nice inner and like a letter from the company saying, almost saying sorry for releasing a compilation album. Like we're kind of out of vogue, but we're going to go for it anyway. And I'm really glad they did. It's just a fantastic, fantastic record. There's a lot of synthesizer stuff on here, electronic music, wonderful stuff. I'm really glad to have found this. It's actually quite cheap if you look online. It's not the sort of thing that everyone kind of look out for, but a wonderful, wonderful record full of catchy hooks and just that wonderful analog synthesizer stuff, which you don't really hear so much anymore. And if you do, it's kind of strained and predictable. Whereas back then, it was just like played with abandon and played by people who couldn't necessarily play their instruments, greatly or anything. But there you go, a nice little thing. If you have any questions or whatever, please ask. Tell me if you can't hear me, etc., etc. This is the first time, and as I say, I'll probably delete this because I can see the picture is looking really poor. But we'll just see how we go. So if you've got something, that would be great. Well, what I'll do, Rob, is if you want it, I'll put that aside for you. There's one or two others I've kept aside for you. So if you want it, it's yours. I flashed this up on Instagram. This is something I found the other day. Amazingly, I was in a charity shop and this big bag of records come in, and it was full of Hungarian and Polish and okay, well, thanks for that, Rob. Thanks for that. That's useful to know because, as I say, this is through the laptop. It'll probably be on my phone next time. I'm going to test that and just see if it works because the picture looks wavy as well from where I'm sitting, what I see on the screen. This is Solaris, Martian Chronicles, 1984. And I thought since I saw the cover, that looks interesting. I picked a lot of them up. These Hungarian records and stuff. There's a few Polish records, some different stuff there. Some of it was just awful. But some was really very good. This is a very good album. It's progressive. It's not as bombastic as War of the Worlds was, but it's very well played, very technical, exceptional stuff. Actually, I think for me, it's definitely one I'm going to listen to again, and it's one definitely, if you haven't heard it or come across it, to look out for, or to even look up on YouTube and see what you think. That would be brilliant. Check that out. Yeah, brilliant, Rob. Fantastic. Yeah, I've had you in mind for a while for different things, so that's good. That's one ticked. Yeah, so that's that one. I like all kinds of music. Okay, I'm not just Mr. Jazz or anything like that, or Mr. Psych, because there's quite a lot of people who are just into those things, and I can understand that because for many years I just brought psychedelic music and garage rock and stuff like that, alongside bits and bobs of other stuff. But I always had a soft spot since my youth, in my early 20s, for the golden age of Hollywood musicals. And this cover, I've bought this record for a long time. This cover is absolutely fantastic. It opens up to see a nice Busby Berkeley cut out there. And there's lots of information. Oops, let's have a look at this the right way around. And you can see the Busby Babes doing what they do best, which is hanging around, laying around in circles, and probably spinning at some point, or the camera will be spinning to make them look like they're moving. But yeah, some of these songs and the tunes are just wonderful. I mean, you just don't hear songs in the same style, and the kind of craftsmanship, especially of the lyricists. I mean, the lyricists of this period were witty, intelligent, wonderful stuff. And it's not something I listen to every day, but when I listen to it, I think, oh, it's so good. I just really love it. Big fan of this kind of thing. I've got a few albums of this sort of stuff. Yeah, there you go. You can see this is the first time I'm doing this. I'm sort of like, oh, it's so strange because normally I'll be talking to the camera and not expecting maybe someone to say something back to me. So it's like I'm sort of feeling like I should be having a conversation, and there's like these strange pauses which aren't normally. Well, if there are, you'd let me know. Anyway, you have to let me know if there's anything you need to know, or if there's anything that you've found lately which you've found interesting. I showed this on Instagram as well because, why wouldn't you? It's another one of those classic charity shop finds. I was really chuffed to find it. It's on Dawn. Now, I don't know how to pronounce that name. I think it was based on Thrupp, and they added an extra U and a P. I can't remember if it's an Irish word or something. There was some play or something that they based their name on, and then they decided to add those two letters to make it extra confusing. So it's Throop or Threw Up or something. I mean, there have been times I've thrown up. But here, Dawn. Here you go. It's the Dawn label. Yeah, the funny thing is about this, I didn't really like it much. I was really hoping, I thought it was going to be a fantastic progressive kind of folk album and I'm going to really enjoy it. But it was a little bit twee in places. I'm going to say it, although I know that there are people who really like this record. It's, for me, a little bit weak. I don't know. It's a little bit, I think the cover, it's sort of based on a story, and I think the cover gives it away slightly. There's a slight childishness to it, a childlike quality, which doesn't bother me in certain things. I think Vashti Bunyan has a certain amount of that. Donovan has things like that. But for me, it's slightly twee, and especially side one. I found it quite difficult, to say the least. But anyway, I don't know if any of you have heard this album, have heard this band. But I personally found it a little bit disappointing. Maybe it's a grower. I mean, certain albums are like that, aren't they? But normally you can tell, I think, nowadays. It seems, I just feel like I can tell almost straight away if I'm going to like it or I'm going to go back to it. It's going to be something exciting or something I'm going to really want to hear again, or at least be challenged to hear again, But, you put down that odd German folk album. I think you might mean, is that one that I found the other day? I have one just over here. In fact, there's a pile of stuff. This Sparry Fankel, who knows? I believe that is Witches and Druids. Yeah, this is, again, I initially kind of called it slightly like Amondal 1, but it's less like them. I mean, a couple of, maybe 3 or 4 of the pieces are. It's a little bit like a medieval Bavarian incredible string band. Now that actually is very good. It's a very good. Again, it's slightly as 2 or 3 tracks when it first starts, so it's sort of slightly lighter-hearted sounding. I don't understand the language. Although there is a fascinating, I say fascinating, if you can read German, which in the past I could do a little bit, but not so much now. Excuse me while I do this. It's like a 3-sided lyric and story in it, plus there's a story of the band, a chronicle of where they've been and what they're up to. Here's the label. Quite an interesting album. I listened to it all the way through yesterday. I quite enjoyed it. It wasn't, how do I put it? Yeah, it wasn't like another, wow, this is completely engaging me from the off. As I say, the first 2 or 3 tracks, but as it goes through and it builds up, it just gets better and better. And as it does have a strange quality to it, I believe it's because they do sing in that ancient Bavarian language, not modern German. And so it has a slightly distinct quality. But how can I tell, really? I don't really know the difference. It just sounds appealing to my ear. Very unusual find. That was one of those that I found amongst the Hungarians and stuff like that. They're quite a desirable band. Their first album, particularly, seems to be quite desirable. Oh, hi, Eric. How are you? Yeah, this is my first time doing this, Eric. I'm just testing it out. I'm on the laptop. The picture looks bad. Apparently the sound isn't great. So, this may well be deleted. and I'll try it on my phone another time. It's good to see you, though. I didn't know if anyone in America would be kind of free, but I know that I think you work in the evenings, don't you, with your chef job and stuff. But yeah, that's an interesting album, interesting band, and it's certainly I'm going to look out for that other stuff just to kind of explore a little bit further. I think they only did 3 albums, and then maybe a compilation or something. But yeah, great stuff, and well worth checking out if you're into that kind of slightly obscure folk sort of sound, like the Incredible String Band. That's definitely worthy of exploration. You don't need to know the language for this to actually be appealing. In fact, in some ways, not knowing the language perhaps helps. Yeah, I don't know how much longer I'll do this for, because I still feel strange. I feel sort of slightly nervous, even though you're all people who've seen me before many times. But I haven't posted a video for quite a long time because I've been dithering as to whether to bother continuing. I just happened to spy this morning when I had to change my channel to adult or child friendly or whatever. I noticed that the live button was available, and I tried it. Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, so you're working at 2 p.m. All right. That's good. You've got a little bit of time. I mean, I don't know where I'm going with this. I have no idea. I thought I put 4 or 5 albums on the side, and of course, it's already gone 16 minutes. I thought I was going to be here for 5 minutes and just turn it off. But anyway, I can't remember what I was saying. There's a few other bits out of that pile. I mean, it's nice to find an original Autobahn. This is the embossed sleeve over here. It's embossed. So I'm not sure if this is coming out the right way or backwards. I think it's coming out backwards. It's on a spaceship label. I'm going to say it. I'm not a big fan of the actual track Autobahn. I like the edited single, but the long version, it's slightly too much for me. I prefer their first couple of albums, the first 2 or 3 albums actually, and some of those pieces are really fantastic. And the stuff on those where they kind of, the time almost seems to drift in and out, and there's the flute playing. Not so much the second album, I think it's a little bit weak, but the first and third albums particularly have really strong pieces for me. And in a way, I prefer them better than this. I think this just doesn't have the same sort of feel, the same sort of what I want, I'd like some of their shorter pieces, their later pieces. But yeah, it doesn't really do it for me. I mean, I say that a lot, don't I? You probably think, why does this guy even bother collecting music? Does he like anything? Because it sort of comes across like that sometimes, doesn't it? There's another one of those Hungarian records. This is East. Now, this is an English version. They did a native tongue version as well. And you can see on the back, they look like the kind of people who are going to be technically well gifted, if you like, and going to play very technical music. And that's what you get here. It's a sort of prog. It's not a jazz fusion album or anything like that. It's a sort of prog album. They're quite a big band, and they had quite a lot of success, and their albums are quite desirable. This is definitely going to be something which grows. For me, it's because it's slightly later progressive. It has a sort of, the sort of slightly cheesier sound. I prefer the earlier progressive, where you get the heavier sound, and the steaming Hammond organ, etc., etc. This sort of stuff has some excellent technical moments, but sometimes technical doesn't, and skilled playing doesn't mean that it's absolutely great and engaging and you really want to hear it, and it's like, wow. It's just a bit, okay, I get it, it's really good, but I'm not feeling it, you know what I mean? So it's another one of those. I'm like, when you see this stuff, when you pick it up like dirt cheap, you take a punt on these things, and if they're like 50p or 20p or whatever this was, then it's worth doing so. And I'm sure I will listen to this again. I'm sure there'll be stuff I like on it. There's definitely outstanding moments, but the whole thing, maybe not. What is this Eric saying? I was organising my records the other day. Listened to a German comp and a Spanish comp. I don't know why, but I find it easier to stay focused and enjoy the music further while tackling a task. Yeah, maybe it's because of the language. You're not concentrating or being put off by the words or anything. Maybe that's it. And sometimes compilations as well, like because of a kind of that shifting and changing with a certain kind of music, you're not necessarily going to be albums that you're going to be engaging with all the time. So it may be why. What kind of German comp was that? Was that like a krautrock comp? What was that? Be interesting to know. I don't know if you've picked any albums up lately. Anything exciting? Any of you? I'm sure you probably have. I'm sure Rob has probably been listening to all sorts of stuff online, like learning about all this world of music that none of us can ever dare to dream about touching. And like, oh, okay, and then opening up whole new worlds to us, which he does have a habit of doing. Let's have a look. What else have I got here? I'll show a couple more. If you want this to go on, you probably have to say a little bit more here, because I'm like, I've got to try to keep engaging at the same time. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I mean, they are fantastic bands, aren't they? For me, Gone especially. That albums are just absolutely fantastic. The David Allen albums are just sublime. I haven't used that word yet, and people have commented before. One or two have commented on me using that word, but they are phenomenal albums. And there's another one I use. I think Gone are just out of this world, really. I suppose that's kind of what they were trying to be. They were almost on another planet, as it was. Fantastic band, fantastic albums. I've actually got from over there. I could pick them out, but you know what they all are. I picked up the first few actually in a charity shop, of course, a few years ago, and I was really, really glad to find them because they're expensive albums. It's funny though. I mean, when I think about Gone, I think about the trilogy and Camembert Electric and all of that, and maybe their best album is You. It's kind of the culmination and the pinnacle of all of their kind of meandering and learning and growing and developing, and they kind of maybe got it nailed on that album. That's not saying the other albums are bad. They're not. Angel's Egg, I think, though, for me, of a trilogy, is perhaps the weakest. I could show you that, actually. I've got the one with the book. I might pull that out in a second. Okay, yeah, repressing does make it easy to collect. Yes, definitely. Having a hard time finding early Gone. I should imagine they are probably harder to find in America. They must be, unless, of course, they were released on America. I wasn't even sure they were released in America. They must have been. Let me, if you excuse me for a second, I'm going to pull a couple off the shelves back here and show you what I've got. I'll go back to find Angel's Egg in a minute. Here's the first album. This is the original first press. And interestingly, David Allen didn't write any of the music on here. It was all Gilly or Jelly Smith who did that. Fantastic stuff, though. Wonderful, wonderful album. And really glad to have found that one. So look here. I've Continental Circus. This is very good. As a soundtrack, this is very good indeed. It's a very short album. I mean, ridiculously short. But a fabulous listen. Obviously, he's not held in as high esteem as the other ones, but great stuff. Is an original on Actual. David Allen's Banana Moon, Robert Wyatt. The first track on this record is just wonderful, isn't it? Let's have a look. The German comp I was listening to was just a silly comp that was fun to party. Don't know it. But what I like about these is now it's written down there, it'll be there and I can check it out later. Yeah, this is actually quite easy to get as a repress. It was repressed 2 or 3 times on different labels. But, you know, finding the original was a very nice thing indeed. Let me just see if I can pick up the Angel's Egg. Just make that just behind me here. I'm surprised you haven't all gone for that. I just can't find the Foxy thing. For all these albums there, they're all there, and I don't know, maybe it slipped between a couple. But anyway, there you go. I want to show the booklet. This is quite a nice little booklet. This came with the first present. But hey ho. Anyway, let me just show you a couple more things, and I'm not sure how much longer I can do this or how much longer you can put up with this. But anyway, this is quite a nice little find. There's a 12-inch with pastels. Unusual thing to find, really. Never see them. And they only did a few 12 inches when they initially began. Great indie rock. I think there's an album later on a different label. Very nice little label there. I can see I was struggling with this picture. Probably looks terrible. It'll be interesting to watch this back later before I potentially delete it. I don't know if any of you have had problems with comments. I'm having trouble. I'm putting comments on people's pages and they're not actually coming up, and I don't know why. Or some people's, they regularly get lots of comments and there's no comments appearing, and yet it doesn't say your comments have been disabled. I don't know if that's some issue with the status of channels or something. I don't know. If anyone does know, that would be great to know. Okay, I'm going to just, there's a huge pile of records. I'm just going to pull them out and start showing them. This is Blue Goose, which weirdly has a sort of upside down cover, really. I mean, the end, this is where the record goes. But it's actually like a top loader, even though it says Blue Goose on the side. So I think there must be some sort of mistake. This is a progressive record. It's a very good record, actually. I don't know if any of you have come across this before. It's quite an easy thing to buy. I mean, it's money-wise, but yeah, it's a nice little record. Something which, if you ever see it cheap, it's worth picking up and having a listen to. Not something you see, not something you necessarily see shown every day, but it's a nice little record, that, and recommended. Oh, I'm just pulling stuff out. See, my shelves and not like everybody else's, which are in alphabetical order. I've kind of got groups. I kind of know where everything is, but occasionally I might spend half an hour trying to find the records. I thought I could have sworn it was over there. Anyway, so I'm just pull a chunk. Here's Wolf City, as we're on the subject of Amundor. And this is my favourite of our albums. So good, I owned it twice. I think this is a fantastic album. Again, this is a bit like I said about Gong. This is where everything came together. There was no sort of loose ends or, extraneous elements or little bits and bobs of tracks that didn't quite work or fit. This is just fantastic. Oh, okay. No, I didn't know that, you see. I love learning those little details. Cheers for that, Eric. Yeah, this is, for me, their best by a long shot. Well, it's just, for me, it's just up there. It's perhaps one of my all-time favourite albums. I've mentioned it before a couple of times, I think. And we all know it. And if we don't know it, maybe we should know it. It's well worth seeking out. Stuff like this, which I never listen to, just sitting on the shelf. Yeah, see it cheap, you pick it up. In fact, there's 2 albums by Isotope. This is one of those sort of techno prog sort of outfits. Is it good? It's the sort of thing that if you like Genesis, if you like King Crimson, that kind of music, then this will be up your street. But it's not top tier. But it's not third rate. These are good sort of solid albums, but again, not something you're going to pick out and put on every day. I'd like a needle drop on in the near future now, but it's on my mind. Yeah, the thing is with needle dropping, I'm not sure if you can do it and you end up with stuff kind of, what do I call it? Copyright strikes, stuff like that. Who knows? So I just thought I'd just try this video today and see what happens. Copy of Space Ritual with the original sticker, £3.10. Didn't cost me that. Yes, again, I mean, it's just a classic, isn't it? Absolutely classic. If you haven't heard this album, I mean, where are you going to go, really? This has to be up there. Has to be. I'll probably go fairly soon. There's only 3 people watching this, and that's fair enough for the time of day, etc. Yeah, again, I'm just pulling out albums just because they just happen to be near. Now then, I actually saw Hawkwind on their 25th anniversary, and it was funny because right at the end, in fact, the band who supported them, I can't remember who the band was who supported them, but the guy stood up and said, he just finished his set, and he said, and here they come, Dorkwind. I'll never forget that moment. And actually later on, the gig they played was really tepid. It was tedious and a bit boring. And right at the end, as an encore, Lemmy from Motorhead appeared, and everyone was like, yes, And they played, what did they play? Oh, I'm trying to remember which track he came and played on. I forget what it is now. But they were in no kind of party mood, even though it was their 25th anniversary. They didn't seem to want to know. They didn't even want him on the stage. It was obvious. And it came to a point, he started playing Motorhead, and they all walked off. And he was playing the bass on his own, and he just had to stop and said, oh, sorry, guys. There was nothing, if they wouldn't come back on, and they just left him standing there, Lemmy on his own, playing the bass and had to assist. So you sort of remember moments like that. But, seeing Lemmy on stage with Hawkwind just for that one track was good. It was just a shame of the way they were. It was such a feeble evening, really. Yeah, In Search of Space is the only Hawkwind album I've managed to get. That album you have as a choice album. Yeah. In Search of Space is, for me, their best again. It's You Shouldn't Do That, Master of the Universe, We Took a Wrong Step years ago. I mean, there was a timeless songs, timeless pieces of music. Really like them. I've known that album since my late teens, and as soon as I heard that, it just resonated with me. It just did something to me. I think lyrically as well. I was a bit of a dropout, a bit of a kind of hippie, less of a hippie, more of a dropout, and yeah, it just did something to me. It took me to another place, and it still does. Every time I put that record on, I mean, it's just amazing. I love the last track, Children of the Sun. Brilliant stuff. And you can hear some fantastic versions on here of some of the songs on that album. Wonderful. There's a couple of that. Aha! Angel's Egg. Found it. It's a little bit tied around the edges, but this one is the original, and it has the booklet. Radio Gnome Invisible. Which goes into Radio Gnome, the mystery histories. All sorts of different stories and shenanigans, mentioning the other albums, Angel's Egg and Flying Teapot. Great stuff. Not something you see every day, and this really elevates the price of the album to sort of skyrocket, levels. Really, it just shoots up when you have this with the album itself. It's a copy of Grand Wazoo. This is obviously Frank Zappa. I like this album. And what I also like about this album is this came in a little collection of records where someone had written all sorts of their own blurb and stories, and kind of must have been on something when they were writing these little things. And I mean, amazing. And it doesn't, for me, it doesn't detract from the album cover. I actually like it when you have stuff that people have written down, people have written on, scrawled their own ideas and poems and pictures. I actually have a copy of Robert White's Rock Bottom. With the inner sleeve, as someone has done their own pictures of ships and anchors and all sorts of other things, and yeah, just so it makes something of it. The people have really enjoyed them, and this one in particular does say stuff about how good this album is. What an excellent fluid chunk of plasticized music this is. So much so that I had to write my thoughts on the inside sleeve just to say this music is excellent, and so are all of Mr. Zappa's musician camaraderies. Compadres. That's just one little bit he's put on there. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Brilliant. People always say, Eric, that the place to start is Hot Rats. It's mainly instrumental. Captain Beefheart sings on one track. And that probably is the way to start. I mean, it is an exceptional record from start to finish. And what it doesn't have is a lot of the things that put people off, which is Zappa's humour. Now, Zappa's humour is a kind of love it or hate it, take it or leave it kind of thing. And it can put a lot of people off. I mean, humour in music can grate. And for me as well, I mean, I find Zappa's instrumental stuff to be the where to go. I don't particularly like a lot of his humour. I do have some of his early albums. Freak Out is another great one to get, because that actually showcases all sorts of different aspects of his music. That's the first album. That's worth getting. Absolutely free. Those sorts of albums. His first albums with the Mothers of Invention are all excellent, although they are an acquired taste at times. Uncle Meat is a great one, some fantastic stuff on there. As long as you can handle the humour, but you're the kind of guy, Eric, who I think would probably really enjoy it and really love it. You've got a good sense of humour yourself, and I think, it might well connect with you, actually. And of the later stuff, I'd say the mid-70s stuff like this. Wonderful, wonderful album. Really well played. When he does his longer pieces, this is where he excels. Slightly funkier, but with his amazing guitar Just fantastic. Fairly cheap and easy to get, really, this one. But yeah, I'd recommend it in that kind of order, really. Yeah, what else have I got here? There's a copy of Loaded, Velvet Underground. This is a later repress. I haven't really listened to it for a long time, but it's got some lovely songs on it. Sweet Jane, Who Loves the Sun, Rock and Roll. I mean, really, really nice songs. I haven't listened to it for a long, long time. Maybe I'll leave this one out. It's been ages since I've heard it. You know, I've listened to the first album of Nico fairly recently, and I really like that. I like the mono version. It's just absolutely, to me, it's just up there. You know, it's better than the stereo version. Well, a couple of the mixes, especially. Waiting for the Man is a brilliant mix. You obviously didn't watch my Beefheart video. I'll be straight with you, Eric. You obviously haven't watched that. Now, I did it because I'm probably the biggest Beefheart fan in the VC. I'm saying that because everyone else who shows stuff may have one or two here, or you know, a little bit, or maybe they have all the albums. But I don't just have all the albums. I have lots of other stuff as well. Yeah. Now, Trainmask, when I first heard it, I was physically sick. I felt nauseous. I felt like, gosh, it just made me feel ill. It was horrible. However, over time, I got to really like it. Now, I'm not saying that it's my favourite Beefheart album. And for me, Lick My Decals Off and Shiny Beast and the first album are probably the albums that I play more often. But when I put Frownland on and Moonlight in Vermont and those tracks off Trainmask, I mean, they're just on another level. Can anyone else reach those sorts of heights? Has anyone else dared? People have tried, but have they ever reached it? No, they haven't. I think it's a complete one-off, and Trainmask does not fall into the horrid camp for me. It falls into the brilliant. I mean, I've got the books. I've read all the stuff about it. I love that. I love what they did. I love the intensity of the music. And I think it would never have turned out the way it did if Beefheart hadn't have been such a control freak. And if he didn't also have people who were quite willing to do what he said. An amazing, amazing record. But I think everyone has to hear. I mean, some people hear it and go, oh, that's it. I never want to hear it again. That's the mistake with it. Always give it more than one play. Always. As I say, I felt completely ill listening to that. As ill as I did listening to Philip Glass, Einstein on the Beach. I remember some friends and I, we played that. We were going to a gig and we played it in the car and we were all felt hideously ill. I don't know what it was. I think it was just the cyclical pattern of it, and it just was, as we were driving, it was not good. But anyway, that's an aside. So I may I'll give it a couple more minutes. If anyone else has got any more questions as well, that would be great. But I don't want to keep your time, keep you here forever. Because I can see this picture is grainy. The sound is probably not great. But if I'll show another couple of records that I've got and just pulled off. You can see how random my shelf is. It's just here we go. Richard P. Havens, 1983. I love that cover. For me, it's just one of my favourite covers. And the inside as well. I mean, that is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I can see that it's getting dark here and the light's fading. But for me, the music itself is really a bit ordinary. The first track is fantastic. It is like less than 2 minutes long. And from there, it sort of goes downhill, really. He was always doing cover versions and kind of tepid cover versions of Dylan and things. And the cover promised so much, and it doesn't really deliver. There are some good cover versions. Lady Madonna is actually surprisingly good. Run Shaker Life is a good track on here. Do You Feel Good, the very last one. Indian Rope Man, of course. Indian Rope Man is an absolutely classic song. That's obviously his, it's not a cover version. But yeah, it's got some great stuff on it, but it's got some really dull stuff on it as well. Really dull. Anyway, yeah, as no one else is probably going to be asking any questions or saying anything, I might knock it on the head there. It's getting kind of dark and grainy, and the light's all the way over there. It'll be interesting to see what happens if I put that light on, if anything's going to make a difference. And if I probably delete this video anyway. Let's just test that, shall we? Slightly better. I think I might have a count. Oh, wow, that's nice. Oh, hello, me. I can actually see myself a little bit better now. And unfortunately, you can all see me better as well. So it's just one of those things. You know, you take the rough with the smooth. Let's have a look here. All right. This was also in the snack I just pulled out. Death of a Ladies' Man. One of the most bizarre covers, really. Putting her on twice now. And half cutting her off because obviously this was the one he was interested in. I think she was Suzanne, but he famously wrote that song about, of course. I think this is a great album, actually. It's not something I listen to all the time. I do like Leonard Cohen. I really like Leonard Cohen, but I don't like... I think most of his albums kind of sound like he's done cover versions of his own songs on most of them, you know. And some of the songs sound a bit samey on his early albums. This one, nothing really sounds like anything else he did before or after, but it still has some of that melancholy and sort of haunting quality to a couple of the pieces, but at the same time the joyous kind of abandon of what it is to be a man, what it is to be a man and alive and you know, in love with women. And I think this album, it's more than any other, really, kind of sums that up from start to finish better than any of his other records did, because that's what he was, really. He was a man who was in love with women. Okay, and then, if there's any more questions, we've gone down to 3 people watching, so probably not. So I may end it here. I kind of don't want to in a way, because it seems sort of exciting, you know, like, a bit new for me to do this, but we'll see. If there's anything else, anyone wants to say anything, I'll move on or I'll carry on. Yeah. I'll put another couple of records in. We were talking about Zappa. Zootaloo. This is another good one, Eric, if you're interested in this sort of period. It's got some of its humour on it, but it's actually also very, what's the word? I think it's just a really engaging record. It's not one that people think of first of all when they think of Zappa, but this actually is a very strong album all the way through. His playing on this as well, out of his world. Definitely worth seeking out on it. And here's a really nice copy of an album I don't really listen to very much. Everyone knows it. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Dallas Taylor and Greg Reeves, who never really get remembered. Another wonderful record. Superb first press copy. Very hard to find about loads of wear. Yeah, very nice indeed. Anyway, as there's nothing else that's anyone saying, I'll probably leave it there. I appreciate you stopping by. I'll probably end it, say thank you very much. And I'll probably do these a bit more often at a different time, maybe, you know, make it easier for people. Probably, yeah, this may be the future for me. It's kind of easier. Anyway, look after yourself. Thanks, Eric. And you also. And I hope everything works out well with your family. I really do. Yeah, all the best of all. See you later.